remind me too that I have something that I need to ask you when we're finished.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so welcome back to SIOP, our third and final lesson for our little PLC group. So I just want to introduce you again to Karen, who is 7th grade math, 8th grade math also, and to Bev, 7th and 8th grade English teacher. And so they have been very willing to work with me this year. Just a reminder that we all went through the SIOP training at the district level this year. And then following that, what we decided to do as a small little PLC is take some of the things that we've learned there and then apply it in class with our students, see how it goes, how we might tweak it, how we might make it better. And so today we're going to be talking about strategies, and we're going to be talking about specific strategies that the teacher used and tried with her class, and then if they have student samples, we'll look at them and we'll kind of close with how did they think it went. So first I'm going to start with Karen. Karen again is math teacher, and so Karen, can you tell us first what strategy you used?
We used reciprocal teaching in a class of 7th graders in the morning and afternoon.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about how you used reciprocal teaching in your lesson?
We had, we were learning about probability, and we were learning about making tree diagrams. We were learning about making lists of probability outcomes, and we were also using the fundamental counting principle. And in using reciprocal teaching, the students were introduced to these new topics, and then they were asked to discuss with their partner. Partner A was discussing with partner B what they thought that particular segment of the probability skill sets meant, such as a tree diagram or making a list of outcomes. And then partner B would discuss with partner A how they saw it. It was interesting to see what some of the students said and their different viewpoints on their understanding of those three particular skill sets.
Okay, and so let me just share with the group that I gave this particular handout, and I'm not gonna, I don't know how well you can actually see it, but it was a handout that I created in preparation for our meeting today so that they would have some previous thinking about what we were going to talk about today. So the first box on the left talks about, tell about the learning strategy you used with your class, and then be ready to explain about it. The next part is, I'm just going to walk through this and Karen will share, but the next part of the handout that I gave them asks, what did you want your students to know and understand in this lesson? So I think you wrote yours in a content and language objective.
Yes, content objective was we will use counting methods to find possible outcomes, listing, tree diagrams, and fundamental counting principle. And then the language objective, which was what I was looking for as a feedback to see if they understood those three topics, was I will be able to write a response to three word problems by using practice handout A, which made them demonstrate that they could do a listing, a tree diagram, and use a fundamental counting principle, and then follow through with that with 4 word problems.
Okay, so you had them actually do all 3.
Yes.
Okay, so then my next question that's on the form is, what did they learn what you wanted them to, and if so, how do you know?
Yes, they did, because they were given a Practice A worksheet, and from that Practice A worksheet, they were directed for one scenario to list all the outcomes that they could possibly have between, I think it was a dice and a penny. Then on the second scenario, they were told to make a tree diagram of the possible choices that they could have between types of bread and meat that you could put on those sandwiches with that type of bread. And in the last situation, they had a scenario where they had to find the total number of outcomes by using the formula for the fundamental counting principle.
Okay, so do you have samples of student work that you could show us?
Yes, I do. And here are several. Do you want one or?
Why don't you pick out one that you can show us that they were successful with?
Okay, here's one. Let's see, let's do this one. This one right here. Okay, son.
Okay, so then how, I know it was going to be hard for my people to see this, but can you tell us, how did you have them work as partners in your reciprocal teaching? So looking at this document, is this when they started doing that, or did you have them do that before this?
I had them do samples that I gave them in class in their Math Spiral notebook, where they practice these skill sets. And then this was the ticket out of class, if you want to call it, to show that they understood and could do this individually on their own.
So this paper was done independently?
Yes.
Okay. So I can see lots of stars. So the first part, can you just tell us the first part? 1, 2, and 3 is an example of what kind of graph, chart?
Okay, so this is where they had to list for a coin, which you could get heads or you could get tails. You had to go through with the coin and then also show how your different combinations would be if you rolled a dice. So for every heads or tail, they could get a 1. For every heads or tail, they could get a 2. For every heads or tail, a 3, etc. And they make a whole list of all possible combinations between those two objects.
Okay.
And then on the next one, this is where you could choose rye bread or wheat bread, and then you could have turkey, ham, or tuna, and they had to make a tree diagram on what that looked like to get all the different combinations. And then on the last situation, they could choose, if they were getting ready to go to college, which language they wanted to speak, Italian, French, or Spanish. And to go along with that, they had to pick a physical fitness activity, golf, tennis, or archery. And they had to tell how many possible combinations between those 3 languages and 3 sports that they could come up with using the fundamental counting principle.
Okay, so you think that starting with the reciprocal teaching, so you did your reciprocal teaching during your practice.
Yes.
And you had them practice each one of these so that
Yes.
they would be able to do it on their own.
Yes.
Okay, is this a strategy that you would use again?
Yes, I would use it probably at least 2 times a week, because a lot of times they need to be having an opportunity where how to do the skill set is presented by the teacher. They see what an example looks like. Then they work in reciprocal teaching along with the teacher to do it on their in their Math Spiral, and they have a discussion with their partner that they sit next to, and then they flip in the discussion, and then from that they should be able to do that individually on their own with gradual release of learning.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. All right, so Bev, I know Bev's just been kind of working on hers. I know she did some things with her class, so we'll just kind of briefly get some input from Bev about, first of all, what strategy did you use from Chapter 5?
Well, I often use Think, Pair, Share, so that's what I used
Okay.
this time. And so the thing that I wanted my students to know and understand is basically to be exposed to narrative poetry, specifically Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, and it's pretty high-level reading for 7th graders. So, and it's part of a unit which is preparing them for performing Shakespeare, Twelfth Night at the end of the school year. So it's one of the building blocks to eventually lead to that. But so since The Raven has 18 stanzas, students were given strips, pairs of students were given a strip with 1 stanza on it, and after listening to the 18 stanzas and reading along and seeing the text, of course, as they did, and hearing it again during a class time, they worked as a pair with a partner, and they tried to determine a paraphrase statement for that stanza. And then I provided little strips of paper with an accurate paraphrase statement, and they were able to determine, yes, we were accurate, or no, we missed this, and but always with a partner, because like I said, the level of language is pretty high.
So do you think were your students able to paraphrase when they were able to share their thinking with each other?
For the most part, yeah. Some of the stanzas are more difficult than others. And if I were to do it again, and I will next year, I would probably decide or be choosier on which stanza I gave to my ELL students.
Okay, okay.
To maybe make that paraphrasing a little bit easier, because paraphrasing is a skill that they need to learn anyway, but then when they try to apply that to language like Edgar Allan Poe's writing, it's that much more challenging for
That's
them.
probably why working with a partner, you know, is helpful to them, because they can have somebody help them with that paraphrase. But okay, so it's a strategy that you use regularly, pretty much.
Yeah,
And
students are seated next to a partner all year.
okay, so they have a partner and they know who their partner is, even though they may switch their partners
Right.
throughout the year.
And then when I do, because I do also have them work in groups of 4, because my tables are such that they, you know, long and narrow, they turn around when I have them work in pairs. The first row will turn around to go work face to face with the row, you know, the 2 students sitting behind them. So that works really
That's
well.
good, so you can easily break from 4 to 2 and they know where to go. Great. Nice idea, Bev. Okay, well, I'm going to stop for today. I want to thank you both for participating in my... Oh, boy, Karen, I got a big picture of you right there. I'm going to downsize that just a tad. But anyway, okay, so I want to thank you for participating in the ELL PLC for my practicum this year. So thank you both.